Hello YouTube, this is Frugal and welcome to another episode of Frooglesim News for today, Sunday, January the 25th. I'll get the caveats out of the way straight of all. This episode was pre-recorded. I'm actually away from home this weekend, so I am going to whiz through some of the news items here, and I apologize for it being in some areas a little bit weak. The biggest news of the week was perhaps the announcement from Lockheed that Prepared 2.5 is about to go into beta testing. Now, the updates in 2.5 are nowhere near as groundbreaking as they were on 2.4. If you remember, on 2.4 we got the improved shadows, the improved clouds, all sorts of lighting changes and other wonderful goodness. 2.5 just shows really Lockheed continuing to build out the platform, listen to feedback both from general users as well as serious ones, and by serious ones I really mean flight schools and government organizations, as well as developers. There are a number of fixes, none of them particularly groundbreaking. For example, add post-process for night vision that includes bloom. That particular fix really only going to apply to you if you're using night vision goggles, perhaps in a military aircraft, and other changes like that. So a bug that would prevent the hide aircraft flag from hiding aircraft attached effects. Who knows what that means, but I think if you look at the notes on 2.5, which are at the link in the show notes below, you'll see a lot of these changes are just general fixes to bugs and issues that have been reported. So nothing spectacular, but again, very cool to see Lockheed continuing to develop that. Moving on, we have a bit of an influx of scenery this week. 3 products, in fact, from 3 different companies. So first of all, Aerosoft. Aerosoft have announced Heathrow. It's still in development. It hasn't been released yet, but as you can see from the screenshots below, it is in fact, not even probably, it is the most detailed Heathrow airport scenery for XPlane ever. Incredibly detailed, has all the runways, seems to have all the gates, all the taxiways, all the buildings, and to be honest, at a glance, I thought the first time I saw these in development screenshots that UK 2000 had decided to move their products across from FSX into XPlane. That's not the case. It is an Aerosoft product, and Aerosoft are rapidly building a name for themselves within the XPlane world with their awesome scenery. Coming soon, more information at the link as always in the show notes below. Next up, I'm not going to pronounce this well, and I don't know any Norwegians to ask how to pronounce it, but Torp Sandefjord, whatever. It's in Norway, it's south of Oslo. It is brand new scenery, again from Aerosoft, this time for FSX and Prepared. It includes wonderful features like 3D grass as well as seasonal textures. It is stunningly beautiful and would fit very well actually with Orbex's Norway scenery that we announced or covered, I should say, a week or 2 ago on this very show. Finally though, I did mention UK 2000 earlier. UK 2000 have now released Prestwick. Again, not sure I pronounced that properly. It's a place in Scotland. Prestwick, whatever. FSX and Prepared scenery covers the RAF base at Prestwick as well as the passenger airport. Also includes the Ryanair maintenance base, and as always with UK 2000 scenery, high definition textures, static and moving vehicles, and a full set of options to really customize the performance of that scenery on your own machine. Now moving back into the world for XPlane, Coronado released updates this week. Now what they're doing is actually very cool. With XPlane 10.3 we got the new GPS functionality, so the GNS 430 and 530, and so Coronado have been updating their aircraft in batches, and the most recent batch covers a ton of aircraft. The C340 HD, the C90 King Air HD, the PA46 Malibu Mirage 350p, the B200 King Air HD, and the C206H Station Air HD, one of my personal favorites actually. All of those aircraft have been updated. If you are an existing customer, log into your account wherever you bought those, you should be able to download the updated aircraft. If you're a new customer, you're going to get the updated aircraft out of the box. They have been fully updated for XPlane 10.3, so obviously they have the GPS updates. They've also got enhanced Sassel plugins. Sassel is a plugin that they use to achieve a lot of the features in the Coronado aircraft. That's been updated to support 32-bit and 64-bit. They have frame rate optimized models as well, and a big deal for those of you who are flying on VATSIM or Pilot Edge, scroll wheel support. Now this is a big deal because if you're tuning radios now, you no longer need to find a weird click spot on the radio frequency knob and just click it very gently and hopefully it changes your frequency. Now you can actually just hover over that knob and use the scroll wheel. Same with adjusting your course and your heading bugs and all that good stuff. So more links at the Coronado website, which is in the show notes below. Now, the next one is not really news, but it kind of is, but isn't. Just Flight's Canberra, which you saw me cover, I think, in the very first Frugals Hangar, and I've got to do a video series on that, just got an update, but that's not actually the big news. If you're a Canberra fan or user, head on over to Just Flight's site and you can pick up the update from your Just Flight account. The big news is that in trying to track down more information on that, I actually discovered a very cool site. JustFlight.com/category/in development is Just Flight's development site, and it shows you sneak peeks at upcoming products. Now, I found very interesting looking at that page. Notable products would be Air Hauler 2. I know a lot of you are very avid Air Hauler fans, so there is an Air Hauler 2 coming, but perhaps more excitingly for me personally, the Tornado GR1. Now, they've got a lot of stuff up on the GR1, including renderings of how it's looking in 3D models, as well as behind-the-scenes video of them actually going over a real GR1 Tornado and getting all their measurements down and their sound recordings and so on. The actual aircraft is going to include its characteristic ground-following radar, accurately modeled. I'm really looking forward to seeing that when that gets released, especially because the Canberra really marked the first of Coronado jumping into a whole range of study sims, and it's looking very much like the Tornado GR1 is going to be their next military study sim. I know they came out with a Trident Pro, which was also almost study level, or pretty much study level. But the Tornado is very much in the same category as the Canberra, in that it's a military aircraft, particularly ground attack, and it's an iconic aircraft to people of England in particular. Looking forward to flying that. Final news story this week, more DLC from Dovetail. They're actually going back to release even more of the add-on packs from First Class Simulations. Previously, you'll remember that they released Around the World in 80 Flights, a First Class Simulations pack. Now they're releasing or re-releasing the Early Years of Flight. If you are an FSX Steam user, then you can pick up the early Years of Flight from Steam. It includes 5 aircraft and 3 missions covering, of course, the early years of flight. It includes the Blériot 11 monoplane, the first aircraft across the English Channel, although some would argue that. The Santos Dumont 14, the first unaided takeoff of a heavier-than-air aircraft, is its claim to fame. The Goliescu Avioplan, which was the first aircraft with a tubular design. The Handley Page Model E, which is said by many to actually be the first passenger aircraft. And of course the Wright Brothers Model B, the Model A, not really travelling a great distance. Model B improved on it somewhat, but very, very early in the early years of flight. Check out the early years of flight at the link in the show notes below. So that's it for this week's news. A little bit light, as I said, it was pre-recorded, so I apologize for that, but hopefully you got some good stuff out of this. Look forward to seeing you next week. As always, my name is Frugal, and I'll see you soon.